everybody. It's we told you after football we're going to talk some other stuff. And Matthew, here we are sitting in our seats. Obviously, there's not many people here yet, but down the road there will be more people here at the in the Fenway Park area of Boston, which is a neighborhood. And welcome to Fenway, and we got some fun stuff to talk to. Not much about football today, but there's a plenty of other things to talk about.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Pitchers and catchers have reported they're getting work done. I know down in Florida already, these guys are reporting
Hmm.
to spring training, and apparently, in reporting to spring training, that automatically means that you're going to break your hamate bone.
Maybe
We
they should
had
use another term and not say, you know, spring training reporting to, just like dropping by to say hello, something like
yeah,
that.
yeah, three guys suffered handmade bone fractures that have been reported, and that's Francisco Lindor, Corbin Carroll, and
Mhm.
Jackson Holiday. Um, all three of them. It's just I think it's just strange based on the because it's a relatively specific injury,
Hmm.
not the most uncommon of injuries, but it's still interesting that it happened to three of the biggest names in the exact same time frame.
That's true. I mean, you wouldn't have thought it, but there you go. You know, one of the things that we got going on here, we've talked a lot about it, and that is today, Major League Baseball announced for the first time that they uh, are putting they put a price on the regional on those teams that left regional sports and decided, hey, our cool thing that what we're going to do is we're going to take care of all of our teams. And so 16 teams today announced their packages. And if you if you were living in the Boston area, right, being a Red Sox fan, um, it would cost you, if you wanted to stream the whole season, it would cost you $99. Frankly, I think that's a relatively decent fee.
Yeah, it's not the worst. When you think about it, in terms of your cost, you're paying less than $1 a game to watch it.
Mhm.
So that's a pretty good deal. That and relative to what it's like to go to Fenway Park, that's a fantastic deal because
Mhm.
Fenway Park is extremely expensive. Like
Yes, it is.
and that's what people seem to forget about this is like there's 162 games. Not
Mhm.
everybody's going to all 162,
Right.
obviously. There's not many people that can afford to go to 162, to be honest with you. So there's that aspect, and then obviously they're not always at home. They spend half their year on the road, stuff like that. It's a good price though.
I think it's a good price point because if you think about it, obviously, if you have if you have people who still have cable, or you have your regional sports network um, on YouTube TV or Hulu TV or any of those services, that's not going to change. They'll just put another channel name on it, or given the fact that it's very likely that the FanDuel network, because of Main Street, will go out of business, they may very well just slap it on that channel. Um, so if you already have it, then you don't have to worry about it. If you don't, well then it's $99. But I think if you think about it, right, $99 is really, um, it's an incredibly fair deal. It's like a, what is it, a buck and a quarter um, a game.
Yeah, yeah. You say it's a dollar and a quarter a game.
I think I was just ballparking off the back of my
Okay.
back of math on the old backing on the back of the napkin math. It's like about 100. It's like a dollar a quarter game. It's a 99 bucks. Let's just call it 100 bucks and make it even. And it's 162 games.
Yeah.
So that's not a bad deal.
No.
And knowing that you're going to get them every time. But here's the cool part. um, if you could, when you buy it that way, you can watch it on your phone, watch it on your TV, watch it on a tablet, watch it anywhere you want to.
Yeah,
Um,
I used MLB TV for the second half of last year. They were offering a deal
mhm,
right around the All Star break, and I decided to spend my money on it. And I watched it. I watched on my phone, watched on my laptop. I
mhm,
streamed it on TV. I
mhm,
watched it pretty much any way I wanted to. It was very easy and very
mhm.
convenient.
If you are, I'm a T-Mobile subscriber, and I got it for free with the T-Mobile subscription. So if you look out there, there's some different options to it. But the problem is, if you live in that area, right now,
Hmm.
obviously you live in Atlanta area, right?
Hmm.
So they're going to black out the Braves games. They aren't going to black out the Red Sox games. So you got your team
Yeah.
without having to worry about it. Now, what they will do if you are a T-Mobile subscriber or or anybody who gives you a subscription, there are others who do it. Walmart does it. Others. Um, what'll happen is that you will still have to buy that $99 package.
Really.
So MLB TV is offering a deal where it's $199 and you get everybody. So that's
Okay.
for the year. So
And what was I saw a report about it and I didn't really like fully understand, but they're saying that you're going to have to pay twice with this ESPN deal. It's like you have to pay for ESPN Unlimited and you have to pay for
that's
the
if you
TV
yeah,
subscription, right?
that is if you choose to go and use EA. You have two ways to do this. You can go MLB TV, and that's your $99, or you can roll it in to an ESPN subscription
Mhm.
because ESPN now owns MLB TV. So what
Mhm.
happens is, let's say you want to, subscribe to ESPN, slap another $99 on it, and that's where you get the two the double dipping aspect of it.
Okay. Yeah. I'd seen that people were very like it was a very big deal online. People were very upset about it, because again, you're ESPNifying things, and that tends to upset people a lot more now than I think it used to.
Hmm. Well, I honestly, um, I I don't subscribe to ESPN. I'm not going to subscribe to their streaming service.
Hmm.
I just want to see games. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't really want to see all the crap that comes around with it. And so, if I want, you know, the good news about this is there's going to be, you with Nesson, right? You watch, maybe you watch the pregame and the postgame show, right?
Hmm.
I don't know if you watch much else on Nesson, but there isn't much else on Nesson other than the Bruins
Yeah.
hockey. But it's not a full network station,
No.
so I don't really, I know what time the baseball game's going to go on, so I'll tune in a baseball game.
Yeah. And
So from that standpoint, that's all I really care about.
yeah, and that's I think where people got upset is they felt like they had to do both. Like it from
They
what I
make
was
it
reading.
confusing.
Huh?
ESPN does a very good job of confusing the consumers.
Yeah, yeah, and that's I mean that's what they've done effectively because these people were very much up in arms about ESPN taking over this and feeling
Hmm.
like they were getting gypped as the consumer, and what I think people thought was going to be a more consumer friendly model.
Hmm.
I did see that the reported blackouts, like there's a bunch of teams that will not have the blackout areas of those
Hmm.
teams that switched over.
Yeah, in other words, now if I were to buy the like we just talked about, if you bought MLB TV last year, right, you
Hmm.
would have been blacked out with the Braves. If you
Yeah,
buy it this year, you won't.
yeah, yeah.
So that's
Which
the blackout.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's big for those people because I mean that's the thing that nobody understood in the RSN thing is like why am I in the city where this team is playing and I cannot stream this baseball game? Like it always felt counterintuitive for a lot of people.
Well, it was. I mean, and the other thing was, what they were trying to do was push their direct to consumer app, right?
Mm-hmm.
So FanDuel had a direct to consumer app, so they wouldn't allow you to. They wouldn't allow Major League Baseball to stream it. So what MLB did, and that's why they were keen to try to get as many of these teams on board as possible. If you own your rights, you can assign those rights to the MLB, and then they can stream it. Now, my understanding is Victory Sports, which is Victory Plus,
Mm-hmm.
is streaming the Braves. Okay.
Okay.
Whether or not the Braves can be, because they own their own rights, whether or not Major League Baseball can ask them to drop it, to drop it into the package. I would think so, because
Mm-hmm.
the only blackout you're going to get is, let's check on that one real quick as we speak. I think it's okay, but let's make certain that can are the Braves blacked out on MLB TV? Uh, and it was, I'll tell you what, the interesting thing was the Angels were thinking of doing the same thing the Braves did, which was put together their own regional network. The
Mm-hmm.
problem was that they wanted to bring the Kings in with them, the hockey team.
Mm-hmm.
But to do that, they were going to have to buy the Kings out of the Main Street, because Main Street hasn't quite gone belly up yet.
Yeah.
So that made no sense. So after they figured that one out, Artie Moreno wasting time, they decided that maybe we should go with MLB.com, or in this case, MLB TV.
Mm-hmm.
The MLB.
Well, and speaking of the Braves,
Uh-huh.
I'm very
Have they
curious.
had another pitcher hurt today?
They did. They last
Well, I
night.
was joking. Jeez.
No, they actually did. They put. Let me double check this report
Mm-hmm.
really quickly here. Um, but if I remember it correctly, yeah. So they acquired infielder Brett Wisely from the Tampa Bay Rays in exchange for cash considerations, and placed right-handed pitcher Joe Jimenez on the 60-day injured list with a left articular cartilage injury. I don't know what these guys are doing in their training camp. I don't know what the trainers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what their strength and conditioning program looks like in Atlanta. I don't know what they're doing, but they've got a problem at this point. Like, you have a
Mm-hmm.
legitimate problem. That's two more pitchers that are going on the 60-day IL. One from last year that was ended his season on the injured list. And now you've got more rampant injuries in that clubhouse, specifically in the pitching department. I know Sean Murphy's going on the 60-day as well, and that's another injury that they have, along with Hyson Kim, the guy that they signed to play shortstop. I'm very curious what's going on in Atlanta, because it seems like they are having injuries at a much more rapid rate than a lot of other clubs in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, it's interesting. If you look at some teams, they have that. I mean, the Mets for years had that issue, and there's some teams that Cincinnati, for one, and Tampa Bay, some of the smaller market teams
Mm-hmm.
had they had people, and I don't know how they pulled this off, but they had guys who basically they're pitching coaches and pitching. They have not just pitching coaches, but they have literally a pitching coaching staff that, in some ways, resurrected arms. They got
Mm-hmm.
years out of guys who showed up, who other teams just said, "I'm sorry, we're giving up on you." So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Because it's just confusing, because put out the this is I feel like at this point a pretty well known stat, but
Mhm.
at one time or another last year, every single member of the Braves opening day rotation was on a 60-day IL. Like, that's not normal.
Every member,
Every member at one point or another last season was on the 60-day IL for the Atlanta Braves of their opening five rotation, their opening
wow.
day rotation, those five. So I don't get what's going on in Atlanta. It doesn't make any sense to me. they're an extremely talented baseball team from the offensive side if things continue to click, and they have one of the best rotations in baseball, but they can't stay healthy long enough to have all five of them out there and put together. You have, in most cases, two to three fifths of a good rotation. And the other guys are just fillers that maybe you're getting from the minor leagues, or you've made a small trade or something like that.
Mhm.
Maybe signed a free agent trying to fill a gap because they cannot stay healthy.
Okay, here's the deal. The Braves are on the let's see, I'm looking at the backup. You have to check your zip code according to this. They're producing their own games. If you live outside the territory, you can watch all the Braves games live. But if you live in the area, they remain. No, you can't. They're blacked out.
So if you live within like the Metro Atlanta area, is that what you're saying?
Well, not really. The Metro Atlanta area, it's whatever territory that the Braves deem is their territory.
Okay.
So what they're asking you to do, if you're a Braves fan, right, is let's see, they're on Victory Sports, so you can stream them. You'll have to have a separate. You'll pay separately for an MLB package, and then you'll pay separately for a Victory Plus package. So let's go real quick to Braves.com.
So they actually are doing what people were talking about with ESPN.
The thing that people hate. Yes, they're the ones doing it.
Yeah, you have to double up on your payments. That's not a fantastic business model, I wouldn't say.
It's not a very friendly one.
We have the increased accessibility of the other clubs as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, when they decided to do their own, okay, fine, that's good for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can do what you want to. I don't see how this model works for the Braves.
That's interesting. If you have to do both, I don't get that. Which it does follow in that same model of like the RSNs had the blackouts, and if they're in effect doing their own, then you kind of understand why they're doing the blackouts. It's the same reason the RSNs did. Like you want to minimize the competition, make sure they're going through your service. I'm just curious how effective it's going to be for the Braves.
It doesn't sound like a good business model.
No.
Because if, I understand, and this has been it's not a problem that the Braves has had, but ever since they left, TBS, they have had an inflated concept of how much their rights are worth.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of wondered that.
And I'm not downgrading what the Braves are worth, right? Not for a minute. But you can't tell me they're a national. You can tell me they're a national team, and I will believe that part, right? However, you can't tell me that their deal would be worth as much as, say, a Cubs deal, a Red Sox deal, or a Yankees deal, or any of that. I mean, that's just ludicrous. It's not. They have to play by the rules that everybody else has. And the rules that everybody else has is you have a territory. What that territory is for the Atlanta Braves is probably north to Tennessee, like, I don't know, maybe Memphis, Tennessee, maybe Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah. Honestly, probably a little bit more north, potentially a little bit more north than that as well.
Well, if you go there, I don't know, I guess the northernmost part would be southern Charlotte. Northern Charlotte is Orioles Nationals. Southern Charlotte is Braves. Now
Okay.
so I'm looking. That's the north. South, you can go down to almost the Florida border. Okay, but you got all Alabama, you got all of
Mhm.
Mississippi, and you got
Yep.
part of Louisiana.
I'm assuming most of South Carolina.
Yeah, all of South Carolina
All of South Carolina. Yeah. Yeah.
and
I mean,
most of North Carolina. You know,
yeah, they have. I mean, in terms of not just that, but their fan base is largely like it's all of the South, like
mhm,
Mississippi, Alabama, like
sure.
places like that. Your
Mhm,
odds are you're probably going to be encountering Braves fans. I would
yeah,
say they watch professional baseball like that.
mhm,
That's
right.
probably your most likely team for them. So they
Mhm,
have a really good reach there. I just think they tend to forget that the 90s, like a lot of people do, like, 'cause, time flies.
yeah,
90s was a long time ago now. It's no longer the 90s, and TBS no longer airs you nationally
right.
every night. Like that's not something that's happened. You don't have the same national reach that you once did.
Mhm,
And
right.
while they were a very big and important brand, and still are a very big brand,
Sure.
like don't get it wrong, but
No.
you are correct. They're not the Cubs, they're not the Red Sox, they're not the Yankees, they're not the Dodgers, they're not the Mets. Like
Mhm,
they just aren't those teams, and I think they feel like they're valued as those teams. Um, I mean, credit to them because they spend more money than some of those teams,
mhm,
man, Red Sox. Um, and that's something that's talked about. It's talked
mhm,
about with the Red Sox is like, man, you guys are charging us this much to like for the ballpark experience in terms of the Red Sox,
right.
how expensive they are, and then you don't reinvest that money into what I'm coming to actually see.
Sure.
So you
Mhm,
have to give them credit that they've invested in the product on the field. But have they invested enough in the product on the field that you're going to get people to pay twice to go watch or to watch them when they're not at the ballpark?
and remember that the Yankees, the, Mets, everybody we spoke of, Cubs, Red Sox, they all have territories too, okay? So, and if you're Yankees, Mets, you got a kind of really bizarre situation because you got 90 miles south of you is the Philadelphia Phillies.
Yeah.
So you can't go too far south. So you're really talking northern Jersey. You're talking a little bit of eastern Pennsylvania, above Philly.
Hmm.
Um, you're talking Connecticut, and then once you go above Connecticut, the Yankees are screwed because that's where the Red Sox come in. You know,
Yeah.
so the Red Sox basically are Connecticut and all of New England.
Yeah.
Okay, now that's a lot of people. Okay, but TV households, it's not a big number once you get out of Boston. New
Hmm.
York gets Long Island and part of Connecticut. Like I said, part of northern Jersey, part of eastern Pennsylvania. So if you're looking at and the Mets have the same list. If you're looking at the size of scope of states and population, well, of course, those are large population centers.
Hmm.
But if you're looking at just pure out and out states that are available, the Braves have a massive footprint
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the South.
Absolutely.
So, but you look at the consumer, right? I've got my consumer. How much can I charge them, um, and not piss them off?
Yeah. And that's fair. Like stuff in the big like in New York and in Boston and in Chicago, your average price and average income per household are higher in big
Right,
cities. They just are.
right,
And what the Braves are dealing in is the majority of their fan base and their region is more rural, which
right,
means you're dealing with a little bit lower of a
right. Mhm.
household income. So, you know, is your entire fan base going to be able to pay two subscription prices? Probably not. I mean, you're asking people to fork over a significant amount of money annually to sit down and watch baseball. Like it's not worth it for a lot of people. I love the Red Sox. I love sitting down and I really enjoy watching them
Mhm.
when I don't have anything else going on at the times that they're playing.
Right.
It was still very much like a decision for me as to whether or not I was going to spend the money on the half year deal.
Sure.
Now, the age my age and income weren't the highest. Like
Right.
I'm not necessarily settled, but at the same point, like I was thinking about forking over, like $70 or something
Mhm.
like that. And I was still like, I was sitting there thinking, I was like, is this worth it? Is this worth an investment as much as I enjoy them? Or do I continue to just try to piece together the TV appearances that I can find them on?
Right. Well, I can tell you, you know, for me, I can afford it. Okay.
Mhm.
If that's what I wanted, I could afford it. And I do the MLB package because I'm a baseball fan. Enjoy it. Okay. I don't buy the NBA package. I don't buy the NHL package. I don't care. I don't buy what is it? The NFL's season deal, whatever they call it.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh,
Um,
God, what is it?
NFL
Sunday
ticket.
ticket.
I watched my buddy Scott Hansen do Red Zone. I mean,
Mhm.
to me, that's fine. I can watch that.
Oh, yeah.
Um, but I think for the money, given the fact that you start in February and you end in the end of September, for me that's a pretty good deal. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch the other stuff. I get tons of there's tons of NBA basketball. I can watch it whenever I want to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. On
Hockey's the same way.
ESPN.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hockey's the same way. But at the end of the day, you got to choose. Everybody has a budget, or everybody has discretionary money. As I said,
Mhm.
I can afford to do it, but at the same time, I don't want to pay for something I'm not going to pay. If I want to watch, if I'm tonight, for instance, if the Golden State Warriors are playing and I wanted to watch the Golden State Warriors and they're not on TV, well, okay, I'll wait. They'll be on soon anyway.
Yeah.
Um, you know, but I get the fan base. The fan bases are, but how much can you sock the fan base? And I think that's the thing that it's driving MLB crazy, because what they would love to do is have all of their teams under that one thing, so that you could do exactly what you do with NFL Ticket or any of the other situations, specifically with NFL Ticket, where you get all the teams. So it doesn't matter if you're in Atlanta area, but you're a Green Bay fan, you get to see the Packers play,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you get to see the Braves. I mean, the Falcons play if you wanted to.
Yeah. And it's possible for some of them at this point. Like I think this is the closest they've been to that model now,
Hmm.
in terms of the availability. But the blackouts are a very real thing. Like they're and I don't know. I think the NBA and the MLB are comparable in terms of
Hmm.
the packages,
Sure.
but I think the national TV coverage that the NBA gets makes it less understandable to purchase a package where you're just looking for the Golden State Warriors. Like
Right.
you're right. In terms of these teams, like they're gonna get on TV. I
Mhm.
To be honest with you, that's part of what played a factor. Like when I was talking about me going through it last year, thinking about whether or not to do it, it played
Mhm.
a factor. I was like, I did think about it. I was like, I can spend this money, but the Red Sox are one of the most nationally televised teams. Like,
Right.
I'll probably catch them on Fox next week if I really
Mhm.
want to, or MLB Network. Like, they're going to pop
Right.
up somewhere in here through there, and I'll be able to watch them. But ultimately, there's not. If you really want to watch all of your team's games,
Mhm.
then the only way you're going to be able to do it is through these packages.
Yeah, it looks that way. Um, uh, I was listening to a show this morning, and Mike Wilbon was on. And
Hmm.
Mike splits time. For those who don't know, Mike splits time between Washington D.C. and Phoenix. He has a home out there, and he was out to dinner with Charles Barkley, who lives out in Phoenix,
Hmm.
and they were talking about they're having an early dinner, and Chuck goes, I forget who the two teams are playing tonight, and Wilbon goes, well, let's go home and watch them. And Chuck
Hmm.
goes, where? On what? He goes, because if they were on either one of our networks, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
You know, so where are they on? And that was Wilbon's thing was he goes, I know that it sounds like the old man syndrome,
Hmm.
but it's not. It's tough to find out where everybody's playing these days. You
Yeah,
know.
I and that's where like there's articles that go out there and they'll just aggregate stuff for you. Like
Hmm.
even college football, like college football is everywhere.
Hmm.
Sports are everywhere now thanks to streaming,
Right.
and they're harder than ever to find seemingly.
Hmm.
And now they're behind more paywalls. And so when you have these teams that are behind a singular paywall, like most of them are going to be, and then
Hmm.
you have others that are going to be behind double, such as the
Hmm.
Braves, it's definitely a worse look for the teams that are behind multiple paywalls
Hmm.
and will probably buy the teams that are now more accessible than they have been prior some good grace with their fan base in terms of the product on the field, as opposed to those other teams in which you do not get the good grace of the fan base.
I watched a piece. As I said from the top, that what now 16 teams are no longer with a regional sports network, which
Hmm.
allows them to be part of MLB. TV.
Hmm.
And so they were doing like a deal where they were doing interviews with people in Seattle and New Washington and places where these new MLB TV deals are up, where they for $99 they can watch their team. And almost to a person, they were just like, thank God. I don't want to go watch I don't want to go back to Bally's or Fox or whatever the regional sports network is, because I hated the way that they did it. They never put any time or effort into it.
Hmm.
And there was nothing else on the channel at the time. So,
Yep.
if it wasn't for the baseball game, I wouldn't go watching it.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting trend. Major League NHL basketball and NBA basketball have taken this even further. Uh, the NHL is encouraged their teams to do a streaming deal, but at the same time, forget the regional sports network, put it on over the air TV.
Hmm.
And so they now have, if you happen to be in the Los Angeles area, for instance, and you want to watch the Anaheim Ducks, you can watch them. You can watch 57 games for free out of
Yeah.
a 81 game season.
Hmm. And that's big. I think.
I'm sorry. You know what? I made a mistake. You can watch 67 games because 57 are on one outlet, KCOP out there in Los
Mhm.
Angeles, and then there's 10 on KTTV, which is Fox in LA.
And I would assume that the NHL has probably seen some growth in their viewership since they
It's
changed that.
it's
Like
been huge.
in the with we've talked, I feel like we've reiterated 1,000 times already, but everything is so difficult now
Hmm.
that there are a majority of your fans, like for your common baseball fan that wants to see the Braves play at 1 p.m. on a Wednesday. Like you're not
Hmm.
getting the guys in the office. You're not getting these younger people
Sure.
necessarily that have been in streaming for most of their life and they kind of understand the way things work and maybe they don't love it, but they know how to go through and operate stuff and they're fine with it. But like even as far as my dad has made mention many a times, he hates it. He's like, I just wish there was something all in one place. And I said, so you want cable television? He was like, honestly, yeah. Like it's so much easier and it's so much simpler to people for people to find this stuff on
Hmm.
cable TV. It and when it's on streaming, it could be on one of 7 platforms. Like
Hmm.
you don't know which platform it's going to be on. MLB doesn't have that problem. Like you kind of know which platforms. But even now, like if you don't sign up for this stuff, yeah,
Hmm.
sometimes ESPN Plus will do like a free game of the day or
Hmm.
something like
Right.
that. MLB TV will do a free game of the day. Then
Hmm.
sometimes it's on Fox, sometimes it's on ESPN. I know now with the new infusion of different networks picking up baseball this year, now maybe it's on NBC. And they have their time slots, but sometimes you just don't know where stuff is. And it's
Hmm.
so much easier to put it on cable because that's where you're going to get a majority of your fan base back because it's easier. People want ease when people want easy access to this stuff.
Right.
What made streaming popular in the first place is because you could watch what you wanted to watch when you wanted to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
And now you can't find what you want to watch wherever the heck it is you're trying to watch it at.
Well, I think I give some of these streaming services, Apple and Amazon, credit because they're consolidating the streaming platforms, so you can get your other streaming platforms for it. They're doing a really good job. Apple is definitely doing a good job of putting together a sports zone. So if you want to know where the games are that particular night, they'll point you in the right direction for that. I think that the problem is cable cutting, because cable prices have gone, through the roof. And now streaming is starting to become more and more expensive. Where am I now saving money, right? Am I saving money by doing the streaming aspect of it? Now, I've been a cord cutter now for 8 years. And I'll let you in on a little secret, folks. Look at IPTV, all right? There are some very good services out there that are very they're very solid. And Chemo is one of them. There's a few others, probably 4 or 5. And you'll get everything you want for about $90 a year. Now, what is it legal? That's the key, all right? It is not legal in this country. However, 99.9% of all of that stuff is in overseas. So who's going to get whacked? Well, I strongly suggest that if somebody wants to do an IPTV, that you do it in 3-month periods, or you do it in a 6-month period. Because if, for $50, if things go sideways and they're not there anymore, then, you're out $50. But I can honestly say this, in the 6 years I've used IPTV, I've never had one of them go out of business.
Well,
so not that I'm advocating something that everybody would feel comfortable doing. I don't feel uncomfortable doing it because it's there. I mean, if it were outlawed and they basically said no, sorry, they block it, VPN, whatever, you can't do it, then you could do whatever you want to do. But the fact that I can get what I want and I can get it from different countries is kind of an interesting thing. I can watch the Olympics in Italian if I want to. Not that I want to, because I don't understand Italian, but if I wanted to,
what's going on?
Yeah. The other day I watched the opening ceremonies just for the hell of it on an Australian station, just to see, a little different view of how things go. So my point being, if you really want, there are hacks to do this.
Yeah.
To get around it. But it still comes down to where is the game on the night that the game is being played. And one of the things that the IPTV does is it doesn't care where the games are. It's got, if you want, it says Red Sox. You go to that Red Sox channel, wherever it is, it'll be on the Red Sox channel.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of similar to something that me and my buddies used throughout really the majority of our time in college. And it was, just different. I think they're, by technical definition, like pirated streams, Stream East, stuff like that. These really big services. Stream East got to a point where it was so popular that it finally got hack. Yeah, it finally got enough national attention to where the government went and took it down. Like now when you look up streameast.com or whatever, it pops up the big government warning label, like, hey, this site has been taken down for whatever, violating a violation of code or whatever. And now it's a much less viable, because in terms of the quality that you're getting, since they got popular, they've gone downhill. But it was the same thing. It was like, they had the tabs of like, here's baseball, here's football, here's college football, here's NHL. Just click on one, and there's just a whole list of all the games that are going that night. And you click on it, and you're playing. That's it.
Mm-hmm. And I think that I'm not advocating. These are international companies. That is it pirating? Technically, yeah. Anything that breaks a copyright rule is pirating.
Mm-hmm.
Are you likely, you meaning the consumer, are likely to get hacked for it, or taken to court for it? No. The company they'll just take the company down. That's all.
Yep.
So again, am I advocating it? I'm suggesting it as an option out there.
Informing people that
that it is out there, informing people
alternatives.
That I'm not shy about mentioning that I have done it and continue to do it.
Yep.
And I do it because, A, it's a cheap alternative. B, the quality is good. And, if I can save a little money, regardless of whether I can afford it or not, to me, it makes more sense. I tend to be one of those people who I enjoy watching TV from other countries just to see what it's like. So to me, it's entertainment. Now, is it, as I say, is it copyright violation? Oh, I don't think there's any question about that. But until somebody comes up and says, okay, we're going to knock these off, I see no reason not to continue to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now I'm probably put myself in the square, in the head, in the areas that somebody may want to come after me. Don't do that, folks. I'm just throwing things out there, options. Okay, you got a problem, I'll turn it off tomorrow. Whatever you want to do. But there's that. One of the things that Wilbon brought up today when he was talking with Chuck is when Chuck was talking about when he played, he said, I go to the game. He goes, I went to the game the other night. He went to a Suns game the other night. He said, I took a couple of people with me. He said, took some friends, some kids' friends. And then went to the game. And he said, I didn't see any of the stars we came to see. He said this, he goes, what I don't understand, and this is typical Chuck, right? It's like, I hear the concept of roster balancing and making sure that, they get, he goes, what happened to the days when people played, guys played in canvas tennis shoes with, without tape on their ankles and didn't give a damn, and just kept playing. He says, we got now, he says, now you got athletes who are faster, taller, bigger, more in shape than they're ever been before. And he said, and they're not playing.
And they're taking breaks. Yeah.
Yeah. He said, so I pay, he goes, so I'm a family of four who saved up to go watch, LeBron play or go watch, Steph play or something like that. And they don't play.
Yeah.
He said, he goes, that bothers me. And he goes, I'm going to call the players out for it.
Yeah.
It's an entertainment thing and you're not entertaining people.
It bothers the adult and it upsets the kids typically. Like that's something that is legitimate. I can tell you, I went up back in, I think it was 2015. I went up to Boston. David Ortiz's last year, was going to the game, and he was a late scratch, and it upset me. Like I was upset that I was not. It was his final year. I was like, this is like, what the heck? Basically, it upsets you and it disappoints people. But like, if I remember correctly, that was nothing. Like it wasn't like he was a healthy scratch
It
or something.
doesn't happen in baseball as much.
Yeah, but in terms of the NBA, it as a product overall, and in terms of its popularity, and maybe there are some numbers out there that might be able to contradict what I'm about to say, but recently, and I think you could point to a couple of different factors. Like I've heard people talk about why they think the NBA, in terms of its product overall and kind of popularity, has taken a decline. And I've heard people say, well, the league got too political. Well, okay, the NFL got political as well. Like these leagues are politicized to a certain extent all the way. That's not the reason this thing's taken a downtick. The reason the NBA has seen a downtick in terms of some of its ratings and stuff like that is because the product that they're putting on the floor night in and night out is not good enough. It flat out, plain and simple, is not good enough. When you have the stars sitting as much as they sit, it's not something that's going to get people in the seats. And if I turn on the TV and I see that the stars aren't playing, I'm not going to keep watching. Like that's not something that I'm sticking around for. It's just not. And the only reason that at that point, if I'm clicking on a game and I expect to see so and so playing, even from a TV aspect, and I don't see them on there, unless I got money on the game, I'm not gonna keep watching the game most
Mhm.
likely. Because I guess what? There's another 80 of these things that are going to be played, and I'll catch the one that has the guys that I'm looking for in it.
Or you can do like you and I have done in the past. We did it on Saturday night. Watch Duke and North Carolina play.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more than happy to watch college basketball. If I tune on and I'm watching guys launch the ball from half court, I'm like, this is crazy. Nobody plays team basketball anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go watch the college basketball because I know that these guys. There's no load balancing in that. If you got a star, he's going to be on the court.
Yeah. These kids are getting paid too, and a lot of these guys still have their eyes set a little higher, so they still want it as long as their name isn't Darren Peterson.
Right.
So yeah, you're getting the best from these guys night in and night out in terms of you check out the injury reports. There's no injury report that says he's out, and I mean they can call it load management. He's out because he's a little tired from the last time he played. Like that's what it is. So that's not popping up on injury reports. You don't have these extensive injury reports unless for some reason your basketball team has just had a horrible stroke of luck.
Right. Well, I look at the game we watched the other night when Carolina played Duke, right?
Mm-hmm.
Carolina didn't lead in that game until the final second of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And it was as entertaining as a basketball game as I've seen in years. And it was because both of those teams didn't like each other, but both those teams were incredibly talented.
Yeah.
And they just put out, and the fans went nuts, and it was the atmosphere. You don't see that in the NBA. The fans don't do what the fans in college do.
Yeah. There was no like threat of Caleb Wilson sitting out the Duke game.
No,
like that wasn't going to happen. There was no threat of Cam Boozer sitting out the North Carolina game. That's not happening. Like these guys are on these rosters to compete for a year, try to go win a national title, and make it to the NBA for a lot of these highly recruited guys. For the guys that aren't highly recruited, they're there to compete for a national championship in and out until they feel like their NBA prospects are the best and they move on. Like that's what's happening. There's no next step for these guys. So there's no incentive to not do this. I know that Adam Silver is trying. I believe he implemented a new load management policy this year. I think it was something about missing consecutive games. Like you're not allowed to miss consecutive games to load management. Otherwise, they would come down on you. But in terms of the product, even with the new rule in place that was put in place this year, it's still a legitimate issue on a consistent basis that even though the NBA attempted to step in, they failed.
Yeah, and look, frankly, as I said before, as someone who did the games back in the 80s and 90s when, Larry Bird didn't sit out a game, he played with ruptured back issues. Magic only sat out whenever, he had legitimate ailments. And they played team ball. I know I'm sounding like the old guy in the room, and I am the old guy in the room, but it's one of the reasons that even though I did NBA basketball, I enjoyed the college game much better. I mean, it was so fun to be on a college campus the same day as a basketball game. Everybody was
Mhm.
psyched. I mean, you go to did a Duke game one day, and there were people at 6 o'clock in the morning, you know, standing outside Cameron Indoor Arena for a basketball game wasn't going to start till 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
They weren't getting
And
in that building until 6 o'clock.
yeah, and college campuses provide an atmosphere that the NBA, like they can't replicate that atmosphere.
No.
I don't think it's possible for them to replicate a college atmosphere. The same way
Mhm.
it's not possible for the NFL to replicate a college atmosphere.
Right.
It's unique and it's
Right.
special. But in terms of the type of basketball they play, like there's a difference between running an offense through
Mhm.
somebody and
Right.
playing individual basketball.
Mhm.
Those are two very different things. And what you have in the NBA now is it's much more individual basketball
Mhm.
than it ever has been. And instead of it being a little bit more of a team-oriented game. Like you have these stars on these teams, but if you want to have a guy like Cam Thomas go out there and put up 40 with 0 assists, that's something that can happen. It's something that has
Mhm.
happened, probably will happen again. So they they've lost, I feel like they've lost the product on their floor, and it's partially about the style of basketball that's played in the NBA,
Mhm.
and really something that has been popularized by their most recent MVP candidate, or not MVP candidate, MVP winner,
Mhm.
and a little bit of like this foul baiting as well. Like the foul baiting culture is something that is
Mhm.
significant in basketball that's pulled the product downward, the individual aspects of it, the load management of it, all this stuff is stuff that's happened. And honestly, just flat out effort when they are out there on the floor. I think that lacks on a night in and night out basis in the league as well.
Yep. By the way, for those of you who are Olympic fans, spoiler alert, I'm going to give you a score. You're not going to see it tonight anyway on the primetime show. The U.S. women's hockey, uh, 5-1 winners over Finland today. So there you go.
Did I think I saw it. That game that you talked about yesterday between the US and Canada
Hmm.
when the US was up 3-0, that went into extra time, did it not? Canada came
No,
back and tied that thing up
no,
3-3.
they ended. They shut them out.
Oh, they did? Okay.
Yeah, it's the first time Canada's been shut out in an Olympic game.
So I saw something on Twitter last night where the Olympics was explaining the overtime rules for hockey, and the score was 3-3, and I guess I just didn't happen to look at the teams.
Right.
I just saw the score and just assumed.
Yeah. The right now in the past two games, the U.S. women's hockey team has scored 10 goals and have given up none.
That'll do it. That'll
That's
be, I mean,
and
it's,
that and they beat. And we're talking now about Canada and Finland. These are not
yeah.
these are not your average you uh, teams that you run scores up on. It's been a predominantly dominant situation. Real quick, because I know we're getting out of here in a second, but let me give you some stuff to look forward to tonight, because I know people enjoy the primetime viewing. You're going to get you're going to get speed skating tonight, which will be fun to watch. I always like that's one of those things where those people guys can wipe out and take out 7 people with them. Um, yeah, freestyle skiing, which is entertaining. You got the men's Super G, which Ryan Coughlin Siegel should be somebody to take a look at for that one. He won a silver medal uh, in last Olympics Super G. Chloe Kim is shooting for a three-peat on the half pipe. That's tonight. And a couple other things. Mixed curling. I know it's become kind of wild, but it's something that people tend to enjoy. Um, there are actually curling clubs all over the country now that we never knew that was such a big deal, but now it is. Um, there's women's downhill, which Breezy Johnson, who was phenomenal the other night. She's going for the gold tonight. And cross country skiing, not something I know a whole lot about, other than it's a long distance. And then there's the big air, which of course is snowboarding, big air. And as I said, we had the women's hockey. So there's your Olympic highlights for the day. Check them out. And you can watch those all day long if you stream on Peacock. Some of the events are on USA, some of the events are on CNBC, and the main events are on the big NBC. So that's what we can tell you on that one. Any final thoughts before we get out of Fenway for this afternoon?
Oh, final thoughts.
I just went and checked the concession stands. Nothing's going on there.
That's good. You don't want to know what they charge you for a Fenway, Frank.
I've been there. I know. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see.
Take that alone.
Yeah. So to reiterate this point is there was a On3 article that was put out today, and a quote made by an anonymous SEC general manager, I believe was the attribution of the quote. But he was talking about Darren Peterson because he missed the game against number 1 Arizona. And the report that got out that was leaked was that he didn't feel fantastic and was kind of just basically quit on the evening in terms of that. Like, he could have played if he wanted to. He chose not to. And the GM asked, is one $3 million freshman worth more than three $1 million players who are bought in for a full season? And it's a legitimate question because really in Darren Peterson's time at Kansas, he's the number 1 overall pick. He's fantastic. He's played fantastic. He's very much ready for the NBA. He has missed 11 games in his time at Kansas, and that's something that is new. But when it's new, especially in college sports, a trend like this is something that you can see spread very quickly. Like, it's the same. It could be similar to people sitting out bowl games. Like Christian McCaffrey was one of the first ones to sit out a bowl game, right? And after that year, you went from like 1 or 2 guys that sat out these bowl games because of their draft prospects and potential injury and stuff like that, to where now you've kind of multiplied the number. And then you shift your focus to the playoff. And now all of a sudden, if you're not in a playoff game, then your games don't matter. And if you have any sort of draft prospect, now you're sitting out entirely. Like, it spread like wildfire that quickly. I hope that the load management that we see in the NBA isn't something that is going to transition to basketball anytime soon, with Darren Peterson really, honestly, just not playing for like half the year for Kansas, third of the year.
Yeah. Well, let's hope that Rock Jayhawk, they actually play the extra games.
Well, they won without him.
Yeah. Well, that's good too.
Team in the country.
Well, it's going to be fun to watch. That's going to be very interesting. Calvin Sampson had a real quick, we'll hit on. He had one of those epiphany type press conferences that Calvin is known for at times. Toward the end of like a 10-minute news conference after a basketball game, he said, you know what, Houston doesn't have the money anymore to compete with some of these people. A lot of the NIL money's gone to the football team that didn't go to the basketball team. And so, we might be more competitive in football, but we can't compete money-wise with some of the big boys out there. And he said, we'll do our best, but at the end of the day, don't look at us if it doesn't work out.
Yeah. And to that point, I would question Houston's spending motives. Like, I get that football is a more lucrative sport, but your football program has sucked. Like, it's stunk historically. It's not been very good. Why are you pouring money into that program when you have a program that's been in the national conversation and the national title a year ago, by the way? Like multiple times with Kelvin Sampson. He's been fantastic at Houston. Why would you not invest in an asset that's paying off for you as opposed to one that you're just kind of hoping to get off the ground, and because it's got a little bit of a higher ceiling?
But the other thing too, Matt, is if you're Houston goes all the way back to Elvin Hayes, and then you got the Phi Slamma Jamma gang, and you've got all of that history of basketball in Houston, Hofheinz Pavilion. You know, when I lived in Houston, I did the games for the for the Cougars, and it's just it's there is definitely a culture there of we are a great basketball tradition, and they're not a good football tradition. I get where the money is in football, but if you continually go to Final Fours, you're going to make up money in a pretty good way. And honestly, I don't understand why Houston would not invest some of that money in the basketball program. And because again, Calvin's in his 70s. Okay, there's not many more, campaigns. He's on the back end of his seasons. It's already set up for his son to come in and take over that program. But I don't get it, and I know that football is very important to a lot of people. I get that too because we talk about it a whole lot. But college basketball, there's it's a very unique and very special situation because you can have a national champion come from out of nowhere.
Yeah, and
they don't have to be a big name university to be there.
I will also add this, and it's a massive state. I know that it's got more than enough room for all of the schools that it houses. But if you're Houston and you're trying to invest in football, what you're trying to become is, I think, at best, the fourth most relevant football program in the state of Texas in terms of college, just college.
I think you're being kind, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, and that's if they were to overtake Baylor, that's in their conference. So that's the hypothetical that I'm putting out there because you still have.
Hell, look at the money SMU paid.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's. And to be honest with you, I didn't even think about SMU. That one didn't even cross my mind. But I was just sitting there. I was like, Texas Tech, Texas, and Texas A&M. You're not passing those, no matter how much you invest in this program. It's just not happening. Because I mean, Texas Tech has invested a ton of money in football. They still don't have the same relevance that A&M and Texas do.
Nope. Look, they can spend 5 times as much as Texas and Texas A&M. They'll still never beat Texas and Texas A&M. Yep. They may win national championships.
Yep.
But they still won't be Texas or Texas A&M.
Yep. Absolutely. Brand value is important, and Houston just doesn't have that in football.
No. I mean, they had some good football teams.
Yeah.
But, that's not their, I would think and hope that if you are a Houston, you'd want a rounded program, where I'm winning 8 or 9, maybe some years 10 games in the football side, and I'm competing for national championships in basketball because that's where my money is.
Yeah.
But evidently, somebody didn't get that memo, so maybe they'll listen to Calvin.
Yeah.
One thing they won't do is not pay attention to Calvin.
Yeah.
That's something that Calvin will not allow to happen.
Yeah.
So good on Calvin, and it was they came a few minutes away from beating Florida in the championship game last year.
Yeah. I mean, they were really a bad minute and a half away from basketball from winning a national title last year.
Yeah,
that's how close they were.
Yep. And if you look at wherever Calvin Sampson's gone, he's won.
Yeah.
So I would pay attention to Calvin if he asked, if he was saying something. And I was the athletic director at Houston. But
yeah, and hey, speaking of Florida, they traveled to Athens, Georgia, to take on Georgia tonight at 7 p.m. on ESPN2. If you want to see a group of, I think I called them talented idiots. Georgia plays the most discombobulated brand of basketball that I've ever seen be successful in my entire life.
Okay. Does that mean that Florida wins tonight, or does that mean that
I would assume that Florida's probably going to win this basketball game? Yeah, they're without they lost one of their top scorers. I say lost. One of their top scorers appeared on the injury report. He's out, Jeremiah Wilkinson.
Yeah.
So they lost some firepower, but again, the brand. I said discombobulated brand. Sometimes the discombobulation works in their favor.
Right.
So, maybe if
Sometimes
they can
chaos is a good thing.
if they can get Ford on the same chaotic train that they like to ride,
Right.
then they've got a shot. But I've not been impressed with the brand of basketball out of Mike White's crew here these last couple of weeks.
It's surprising because Mike has had, pretty good success year in and year out in
Yeah.
his career, but
Yeah.
evidently not recently.
He's struggled to find consistency in the SEC play over this year and last year after playing well in the non-conference.
Well, what he did at Florida, he can't replicate at Georgia. That for some reason,
Yeah.
and that's the problem.
Yeah. And the two very different basketball programs in terms of where their floors and ceilings are.
Yep. No question about it. All right, my man. Final thoughts have been said. We will be back tomorrow, and we'll get definitely probably going to have a lot more baseball to talk about tomorrow as things start to begin to heat up. And maybe we'll start taking a look at some of these teams and some of these divisions and see who's going to be competitive this year and who may not be as competitive as we may have thought them to be. So we'll
we may even know what Braves pitcher is going to have Tommy John this year by tomorrow.
Another one, yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. Joseph, his group out there in Los Angeles seems to be getting a lot of Braves players headed in that direction.
Yeah. Doing a lot of business from the state of Georgia.
That's we haven't even talked about, and we'll talk about it tomorrow maybe. What the hell's going to happen with Kirk Cousins?
Oh yeah.
Are they going to cut him before March?
They got to wait. I think they're planning to release him. Yeah.
Yeah, they got to relate. Yeah. They got to eat that contract too.
Yeah.
If they release him. So, we'll see. Anyway, more to talk about tomorrow. We'll be around and see you around 3:00 tomorrow, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.